Hello, everyone, and welcome to Burn the Ship, the podcast that helps entrepreneurs go all in on their business, and we introduce them to professionals that can help them to do so. Today, we have a very special guest. Jessica, how are you doing today?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing very well, thanks. Please introduce yourself and the name of your business.
My name is Jessica Bernert, and I own a creative branding agency here in Portland, Oregon. And I've been in business for about 24 years now.
Okay, awesome. And what's the name of the business?
Pail Design.
Pail Design. Yeah, we're looking so forward to hearing so much about it. And we understand that time is one of our most valuable resources. So, Jessica, tell us a little bit about your journey.
Well, my journey was not easy, but as a pioneer of stubbornness, I powered through and consider myself lucky and blessed. I ended up pregnant at 19, and despite my dreams of going to Stanford and becoming a successful architect in New York City, I had to detour a bit. So I ended up in college for 6 years, just getting my undergraduate because I had a baby.
Mm-hmm.
And stubborn as I am, I pushed through, but I actually never graduated. I was about 4 classes away from really getting that degree. So I actually walked for Portland State and got my fake little certificate, but never finished, which is ironic because I started my business 2 years later.
So what happened on the 4 classes? What happened? Life was getting into life?
I started taking up some jobs, and I got busy with the baby, and life just kind of got in the way, and I kept trying to go back. They were geology classes, so they weren't super relevant to my career, but I just couldn't finish. So I just let it go and started a few corporate, corporate jobs, and didn't really fit there. And on one unemployment year of checks, I got laid off at a corporate job because of, I think it was the first dot-com economy shift, right? And I took that unemployment check and started doing wedding invitations because I hadn't had a lot of experience. So I started working with brides and bridezillas and mother-in-laws, and soon to learn that wasn't my cup of tea. But
Right.
it did pay the bills for a bit, and it got me some experience.
Okay.
Uh,
So you did that. That was kind of seems like your first dive into entrepreneurship. Did you stay on that path, or did you go back to corporate? What was next after the wedding invitations?
I stayed on that path, and I quickly shifted into more corporate invitations. And then after about 5 years of getting my feet wet with working with clients and being an entrepreneur
Mm-hmm.
and learning all the strings of taxes and business entities, I slowly started taking bigger and bigger projects.
Okay.
And then I started specializing in beverage branding because I had so many beverage clients at one point. So I narrowed in and niched into that, and that's been a blast.
Okay, so this has all been with Pail. This was Pail from
Yeah,
the beginning. Okay, good. Now I
stay
do.
course.
Okay. Oh, so this was not because I talked to a lot of entrepreneurs and they tried this and went from trucking to going to HVAC or whatever that was. This whole thing has been with Pail. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's all been about design. I'm passionate about it. I have been since I was really young.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay. Yeah,
yeah.
because I always ask the question, what event happened that made you burn the ship and go all in on your
Right.
business? So it seems like it was you didn't like having that unemployment check.
Well, I didn't like corporate hierarchy, and I
Uh-huh.
got my taste of that, and I did not like people telling me what to do and what I couldn't do.
Okay. Hey, that's a main reason for it. You want to be your own
Yeah.
boss for sure. For sure.
I remember bartering for like a $35,000 annual salary with my first job and just trying to go up and up. And he finally said yes. And I was like, oh, okay.
Hmm.
But then it wasn't about the money.
Right.
It was about, just the hierarchy of corporate and all the rules. It just didn't fit with me.
Yeah, it can stifle your creativity if it's not in the correct environment. And with you being able to do this for so long, we know that you're creative just by having the taste of having to have the flexibility with the brides and then moving into corporate. We want to continue to stay on that path so you can tell us about your business. What would you say, is just the story of it when once someone would say, hey, okay, tell me about Pail, what is it that you do and how are you helping people out here?
Well, it really evolved into listening to people. I started figuring out that I had a knack for understanding what the customer or client really wanted. I had a minor in sociology, and I could understand based on like initial conversation, like what really drove them, what they were trying to get out of the project
Mm-hmm.
because they were hiring me. And I found my listening skills and kind of my interpretation of what they wanted was a nice skill for success. A lot of happy customers, a lot of people, oh, you really got what I wanted. And so I started to hear that feedback, through the years.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What would be some?
And then
Go ahead. I was going to ask, what are some of the things that you've created by hearing their goals and some of the things they want? What if I were to engage with you? What is it that you would help produce for us?
Well, everybody has a different personality. So just hearing about even the colors that they like or the style of clothes that they're wearing, that was like their personality, but also there's a business personality, like a brand personality for their company. So I'd really interview them and then combine them with like the brand personality of what they were trying to communicate with the world with their new company or rebrand. And I think that skill set of, I'm kind of like a designer is kind of like a cloak and you put on the customer's, coat and you really try to understand them so that you can output the best visual communication for the problem.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because if you don't know what they want to get accomplished, you're just really putting your idea on there instead of taking those things that they're feeding to you and then just regurgitating them back out to it. So that seems
And you
like
set yourself up for failure that way because then you're just designing for what they like or what you like, and that's not a recipe for success.
hey, makes a lot of sense. So with it, as you're talking about and creating that nice painting on the canvas for us about those particular services you provide, what does the ideal client look like for you? Is it a smaller business, medium, or is it the corporate side? What would you say is an ideal for you?
Yeah, I thought about that a lot over the years, and I used to be like, oh, the bigger the company, well, the slower the check comes in, but ain't that the truth? But
Facts.
really, it's kind of after 20 some years of working with people, because it is a people business, right?
Hmm.
The most, the best client for me is a thoughtful one, a
Okay.
kind one, one that wants to maybe, move the needle in the industry that they're in a thoughtful way.
Hmm.
So brands with purpose, brands that want to grow, that I'm not necessarily completely like egocentric, but people that want to do good in the world.
Hmm. Hmm. That
And
makes
that really feels good. That really starts to feel good that I'm helping.
Yeah, those conscious business owners, they have a lot of different ones that are out there. I've actually been to some networking groups in which that is the focus, instead of just, highlighting the profits. Let's figure out what good we are doing while we're doing good business. So that is a great characterization of that client that you want to work with. As you've been in the business for a while now, there's not just clients, but there are referral partners, opportunities for people to send you over those new people to meet. Who would you say is one of those good referral partners that you have found over your time being in business?
I think people that really know me, and that's kind of personal, but people that know me and know how I work, or maybe that I have worked with before, my best referrals are usually clients I've worked with
Mm-hmm.
that had a good experience with me. I mean, that's just the basic math of humanness, right? But really, the referrals are people that know that I produce a good product. So I just recently did a branding project for an agri company, agribusiness, and they were just so pleased. They just kept sending me thank yous and they referred me on LinkedIn, and I was like, that's really great. That's really great because it's a full circle at
Mm-hmm.
that point.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it sounds like a relationship type business that you have. Very similar to the model that I've taken, trying to figure out how to best help people. And it just comes back. We talked about that in a networking group that I went to yesterday about why 2020 was successful for our company. And I said, I really do think it was that success because I was focused on helping people, doing stuff like this And it seems like you have that same mindset too.
I do now. I don't know if I did when I first started. I was just trying to pay the bills, you know. I was a single mom
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I would take whatever I volunteered a lot. I did a lot of volunteer work,
Hmm.
you know, pro bono, and then I got pretty burnt out on that. But that was part of networking for me, you know. So
Yeah, yeah. Maybe that aspect, like you said, it was, focusing on the money, but then however you fell into the volunteer opportunities may have softened that hardened core. Because if you have that responsibility of the child, you got to do what you got to do, to take care of them. So that makes sense that focused here, volunteer here, okay, change of course here. So,
yeah, being a single parent, my daughter was my driver. You know,
okay.
she was the reason that I was able to buy a house because like she just pushed me to be like, no one else was going to come and save us, you
Mm-hmm,
know?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good motivator. That's another thing, one of those aspects when I say, hey, what was the events that happened that made you burn your ship and go all into your business? Seems like, she was a huge catalyst on that as well. So, that's good because I like for the entrepreneurs that are watching to hear those things that
Yeah.
are burning, to make it
I
work.
want I wanted to be able to be home with her when she was sick and not have to ask permission kind of thing. I mean, back then it still was kind of a male-centric world in the workplace. And, you know, there were a lot of little things that I had to just kind of smile about and not say anything. And that's just where we were in as a culture, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not that way as much now. But yeah, I lost my train of thought. But
No, 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 it's fine. Like, no, it's one of those things where you were just sharing one of the reasons why you had to go all in on your business because, the money, your daughter, the environment that was created in that corporate setting at the time, it's those were aspects of why you said, hey, this is why you should go out here and take that step and just see what happens. Because if you go over here, yeah, it's a financial umbrella, but that's a lot of rain that still gets through, So those are just burning things on why they should go out there and make it happen. And while you talk about, your schooling, that you went to for a little while. And then you talk about
years.
yeah, the corporate experience, and now over 2 decades of doing your own designs. I'm confident that you have acquired and nurtured a bunch of business skills or best practices. Do you mind taking a couple moments and sharing with the people that are watching some of those skills that could help them to be pushed towards success?
Oh yeah, and that's a great question. I mean, it really depends on your personal personality, I think, a little bit. I've dabbled in a lot of it between books, seminars, conferences, you know, mentoring, and every single tool in the toolbox is useful, right? And sometimes you find one that really kind of fits your style. The one that has fit for me, and I have tried them all, maybe not all, but many of them, is the art of manifestation, really, and practicing meditation, practicing with the law of attraction. What kind of client do I want? You know, like at one point I wanted to do posters. At one point I wanted to rebrand a winery, and so I would just, you know, put it on my dream board and you know in no time at all really between you know 0 to a year I would always get that.
Mm-hmm.
So I started to navigate when things got kind of slow. I would just get back to my practice and just use the metaphysics of attraction to get what I needed to move forward.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, that is true because when you try to surround yourself with those like-minded type people, those things come to you. We see that all the time. We can talk about, friends from high school and who they associated with, and then you talk about these set of people who they associated with and where they are. So trying to focus on having good attractions, people that are trying to do good things around you can help push you forward. Do you have one of those times? I know you said to get the winery. I wanted to talk about one of those experiences where that came true, like where you put it on the board. Do you mind sharing one of those stories? Hey, I put this on the board and it came true.
Oh yeah, I mean I have so many that it started to become kind of funny. And my girlfriends would always say, "Gosh, you always get what you want. You're like a very powerful manifester.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite ones though was I was in Paris and I was probably 39. I think I went there for my 39th year. And I woke up in our little apartment above a boulangerie, is that how you say that? Bakery.
Mm-hmm.
And I get this call from a very large company near where I worked, and they were basically asking me some questions about my business. And I was, half jet lagged, half awake. And anyways, I started bantering with the CEO, and he really liked me. I was funny, or I don't know what. It's so random. But I had previously asked for a big project. I had been trying to meditate on a big project, and one of the laws of attraction is to leave and detach, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I went to Paris.
Yeah.
Anyways, I ended up landing that project, and it helped me buy my house.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay.
to put it in perspective, it was such a big project. It was almost too big for me, and I was just a two-person business at the time. But they really liked me, and we did a fantastic job for them. So I just basically hired a bunch of contractors and did an accordion style project.
Mm-hmm.
And I still laugh about that phone call with the CEO because it was almost one of those like touches from the universe that happened.
Yes, yes, yes. Well, you put it out there and you
Yeah,
believed that it would happen and it
I
happened.
did.
You did all the
Yeah,
steps that it took, and that's exciting to hear. I'm
yeah,
excited for you. So
yeah.
let's talk about yourself a little bit. Now, we know that you've had a unique journey because it's your journey, successful journey, because I can tell by the smile as you share that story, things are coming along pretty good. But let's just say that time and money are not an issue at all. What is it that Jessica would do with her time?
Oh, I'd be painting in the tropics.
Oh, nice, nice. Um, is it what would you paint? What would you be painting?
Well, in the last 5 years, I'm an empty nester now, and with all that extra time, I started oil painting.
Okay,
So I've been
okay.
doing trade shows and showing at different festivals and winning some emerging artist awards, which is quite an honor.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And just developing a new community of makers and artists and passionate people who want to work with their hands. So I've been on the computer for many years, and although I love branding, I do that still.
Mm-hmm.
I have to get away from it, and the word pale is actually a metaphor.
Okay.
It's a metaphor for actually getting away from the computer and reminding myself that true creativity is in our hands and the output is all my paintbrushes and tools were in these pails all around, and so it really is full circle for me because I developed that brand name in college actually, and so here I am 25 years later painting.
Now, what has been your biggest muse or your biggest model that you have been doing on your oil painting? Is it been the beach, trees, dogs, raccoons? What is it?
Well, I started with birds. I got a set of oil paints and thought if I just do one subject for a year and get good at it, they say try something for 12 months. And so I did these little birds, and now I'm doing these giant geo birds, which mixes graphic design with painting.
Mm-hmm.
And they've been a hit. A lot of people love them, and I've been teaching little paint classes here and there, just starting small. I don't want to exhaust myself, but
Mm-hmm.
it's very passionate, and I'm in flow again. And
Okay.
so I think one of the things as a business owner is you have to keep reinventing where your spark is,
Mm-hmm.
whatever that looks like. And I don't know where the painting will take me. All I know is it feels really good.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's good. I can tell you're one with the vibrations, and I think you understand that, and that's awesome to see out there. I'm getting my little tingles right now just going through the talk. Now, as we are pushing through this show, and you've shared with us so many great things, I want to see if you can share with the audience what would be the best way for them to get in contact with you if they have questions about your design business, if they have questions about the skills you shared, and even your new classes that you're doing. What's the best way for them to get in contact with you?
Well, if you Google Pale, Pail, I come up. So Pale Design, Pale Art are my two companies. Pale Art is the fine art side, and Pale Design is the branding side. and I do both. But yeah, just email me. I love to connect with other entrepreneurs. It's one of my passions, just like you.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Because, like I said, meeting new people, learning new things, I'm always going to have to say that my cup is less than half full because I still got room to grow. And the reason and the way that I grow is by listening to others. And like I said, it's been a great story today. I truly appreciate it. I appreciate you coming on and sharing, your journey. And we always honor that fact by giving you guys the last word. So if you don't mind, please look into the camera and tell the people something good.
Believe. But if you want it, just believe. That is the biggest pivot factor in getting what you want. If you want to do it, just believe. And every night, believe. If you waver, get back to that word because that is the word that will get you what you want.
Nice, nice. Thank you so much for sharing and coming on the show today, Jessica.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yes, yes. And to everyone that is watching, be kind and thanks.